Hi, I thought I'd do a video on installing a hitch on my 2001 Goldwing GL1800. I tried to buy a hitch from the Wing Stuff website, and they were out of stock. So I settled on a hitch that I got from Showchrome, Big Bike Parts. Read the reviews on it. The reviews seem to be decent, similar to Wing Stuff. So and they were similar type hitches. I could not find a good video for the installation on this hitch, so I thought I would take time to do this video and show the install. First of all, right out of the box, I'm going to take a look at what we've got in here. So there's this box that came. It does have instructions, and I have read that the install instructions are not very detailed. It's nice to have a video to where you can follow step by step, but there's the instructions in text and a couple of illustrations on the back. So we'll get into this here shortly. So let's set these aside. So in this box comes the hitch adapter that fits in there. It's all chrome. Seems like it's just looking at the welds on there. They look pretty solid. I don't see any scratches. So we have this chrome piece. And then we have a bracket, and I'm sure I'll figure out how that fits as we get into it. This looks like probably the ball hitch itself, and it's nice that it is included. Some of these hitches don't include the balls, and this is let's take a look at it. It's all chrome, and of course that won't last for long. That'll get all scuffed up, but Kurt trailer ball. Like that. And then we've got all of the nuts and bolts and washers that go with that. So let's set all of this aside here for now. Let's see what else we've got in here. Okay, so we've got the hitch frame, and again, just inspecting the welds. That's kind of your more important part of this. Welds seem to be all solid, and of course this is going to install with this in the downward position, and then the hitch fits up under there. So that is what is in the box. So let's get started. Okay, I wanted to show you, I've found that it's the little things that take time. So I had to take one of the bolts off here to get to this center bolt. This was what was holding it on there. And I wasn't, and the back screw or the back bolt was turning. I didn't know if it was an Allen wrench or what, and I had to play around, and I finally, let's see, what did I do with it here? Oh, here it is. I finally determined it was one of these. So here's the bolt, and it took one of these in there to hold that, so I could turn the bolt and twist it. So now that I've got this center bolt out, this should just pop out here, and looks a little dirty up in there, but we'll lay this aside. I'm gonna replace these bolts with something else that's not gonna turn in the back there. Okay, the next item, using a 6mm Allen wrench, loosen, do not remove the 2 right side muffler clamp bolts. Repeat for left side. So looking at this back side of, I'm actually on the left side, and I'll do the right side in a minute. But here, you come up under here, and there are the 2 clamp bolts that need to be removed. This I may have to bend up a little bit to get in there without having to take this off, but I'll remove those now. Okay, I've loosened the right side muffler clamps, both right and left. Next is using a 12mm socket, remove the right side muffler bracket bolt and gently lower the muffler and let it hang. Okay, up under the saddlebag is the bracket bolt for the muffler. That takes a 12mm wrench. I'll do that on both the left and the right sides. Next, number 5, it says using a 6mm Allen wrench, remove the right side 2 socket head clamp screws securing the passenger handle to the seat. Remove the handle and set aside. Repeat on the left. And then starting from the passenger area of the seat, work the seat up out of the passenger backrest. But do not remove the seat. Reach under the seat, disconnect the seat warmer wiring harness, and then continue lifting seat to remove and set seat aside. I'm really not sure why the seat needs to be removed, so I'm going to skip those 2. I may find that I'll go back and have to do that, but as you look at, I've got the backrest all tied into the handles there, and I have my heating elements for my heated gear for my vest and pants, socks, gloves, and it's just kind of a hassle to remove that. So I'm going to leave that where it's at. And then, so skipping down to number 7, using a 6mm Allen wrench, remove the 2 socket, socket head cap screws securing right side passenger footrest. So that's going to be this right here, and add those down there. So I'll get those removed on both sides. Okay, I have removed the passenger foot pegs, and by the way, they indicate using a 6mm. That might be so on the newer bikes, but on mine, which is a 2001, it took an 8mm Allen wrench to take those off. Okay, the next thing is using a 5mm Allen wrench, remove the 3 bolts securing the right side frame, or excuse me, 8. Remove the right side cover by gently pulling the panel free and setting the side cover aside. So the side cover went right there, and I've already taken that off. So here's the side cover, and it just pops out of those grommets, the rubber grommets there, and there. So you just pull those out. And by the way, I ordered some some of these extra grommets, especially for these side covers here. They just would wear, and you want a good tight fit. I actually ended up losing one of these chrome engine covers, and you can't buy just one. You have to buy a set, and they were like 80 bucks, 85 bucks. So I have some extra grommets that I make sure, rubber grommets, that I make sure that those are always new and have a good tight fit in there. And the same with those on here. So the next thing is removing this frame cover here, so I'll do that on both sides. Okay, now have the frame guard removed and the side cover removed there. This is on the right side of the bike. Next, using a 12mm socket, remove the two hex head bolts securing the rear side saddlebag guard, and set that aside. So this is the guard, and there's one, and it looks like the other bolts right there. So I will remove those. Okay, that has now been removed. All of that had to be removed to get to that bolt right there. And that's the next item. Using a 12mm socket, remove the right side front saddlebag frame mounting bolt, and repeat for the left side. And these, you completely remove the bolts. These bolts will not be reused. So I'm assuming that's where the hitch frame ties into the front of the bike frame, and it probably takes a little bit longer bolt to fit that bracket in there. So I will do that on both sides. Okay, next I've removed the saddlebag frame mounting bolts from both sides and set them aside, not to be used again. Number 12, using a 5mm Allen wrench, remove the two socket head cap screws securing the rear saddlebag cross brace. So that is this brace here. It doesn't take a Allen wrench, but I'm assuming that's a 5mm socket. I'll confirm that. And those bolts will not be reused according to this, but I think the braces, we'll find out for sure in the next, as we get to that. So I'll remove that. Okay, the bracket's removed, and it was a 10mm socket for these bolts here. And these aren't to be reused, so I'll set those aside. Again, I'm assuming that they'll need a longer stem bolt to replace it that's in the kit. Okay, section 2, item 1. So next we're going to be using the two M6 times 18mm socket head cap screws and two M6 flat washers. And we'll be installing the hitch brace plate where we took that bracket off component with the rear saddlebag cross brace in place behind it. Also, we will use the cross, so we're going to be putting this back on behind it, and this is the hitch bracket plate that will fit on there. So I will find my screws or bolts and get that in place. One thing I wanted to point out that I always do that makes it a little bit less confusing. So when you got a packet of hardware in there, nuts and bolts and so forth, washers, I lay them out and just look at them and size them. So for example, you can see the interior diameter of these two washers are a little smaller than this one. So these two go together, and these will be the ones that go in the hitch brace bracket, or the plate hitch plate here on the back. This plate right there. Also, these washers, these are a little bit bigger in diameter here, and that's a smaller one. You got two bolts of the same size. It asked in installing this bracket, these are the screws that go into it. It makes it believe like it's a hex head, but it's an Allen wrench head, which to me doesn't seem like it might be strong enough for the weight, but we'll install it and see how it works. And then we've got two nuts that are the same, and this nut's the same, I'm assuming goes with that. And then you've got two hex head bolts that are different sizes. So we'll get to that point. Let me go ahead and install the bracket now. Okay, the bracket is now in place. So I've got the bolt with the washer, the bracket, and then that cross piece in the back, and tighten those down. Also put some Loctite on those just to keep them from vibrating loose. Next, we will carefully maneuver the trailer hitch frame into place beneath the saddlebags. So that is this frame here now, and these ends will go where we took the bolts completely out, and I'll get that put into place at this point. So I now have the hitch frame in there. I wanted to point something out. Again, that's why I like to sort out the bolts and so forth. So I had two bolts that were identical, and they're the darker colored. Those are the ones that go into the hitch frame to attach this hitch bracket here. So it pulls these two together, and it says to keep them loose because I've got to attach the front. But as I got looking at what I have left, I'm thinking, well, if that's for the front, those are different lengths. And as I end, you've got different washers. And as I got reading the steps ahead to attach the fronts, one side, well, I'll get to that, but one side takes a longer one than the other side. And I think there were some reviews on this and other hitch installations that indicated that the front bracket was really hard to attach, very tight. So I'm gonna attempt that next. Let me just kind of read the steps here. So I've installed the hitch frame. Now it says install the M8 35 mm hex head flange bolt and the flat washer into the right front saddlebag. So that's 35 millimeter. I skipped down here and let's see. And the other one is 45 millimeter. So if you see it right here, 45 millimeter. So that's the longer one's going to be on the left side, and the shorter one, so this one here will be on the right side, and this one will be on the left side. So I'll set those aside. And then it's got some washers. One's fairly thin and one's fairly thick, and it does call for different washers. So I'll determine which one goes where and get back to you. I'll get that installed next. So I did determine that on the right side you use the shorter bolt, and the smaller washer. And that's going to go in here into the saddlebag front mount, and you're going to thread it in until it pokes through the threads on the frame on the other side, and then you line up the hitch frame since it is threaded and start threading that in, and then probably put some Loctite on it and tighten it down. So I will do that. Okay, so the right side is now installed. Got the bolt, that small washer. It goes in to a threaded part on the frame, and you allow it to stick out about, I think according to the instructions, about a 1/2 millimeter, which I did, and then I raised up the frame behind it, lined it up, and then finished tightening this all the way down. So the right side of the hitch frame is threaded on that side. Okay, now for the left side, I will put this bolt in. This is a little bit longer. I will thread it all the way through on this side, and then I will lift the frame, which is not the hitch frame, which is not threaded, onto the bolt that'll be protruding out. And then I am to put this larger washer and this lock nut on it, and then tighten that down. Okay, I've installed the left side with the longer bolt. I threaded it all the way through on the threads that are on the frame, and let's see if you can see it here. There we go. All right, there. Put the larger washer and then a lock nut and cinched it down. So there you can see the hitch frame is now attached to the frame of the bike through a threaded part of the frame, and then the washer, larger washer, and the lock nut on it. Okay, now that I have the front hitch frame tightened and attached to the frame of the bike in those front saddlebag bolts, I now need to come back and tighten up these bolts here. They're just sitting there loosely. So I'll get those tightened up, and then I can reassemble everything. Okay, I have tightened the bolts, these two bolts in here with the lock nut, and I have installed my chrome insert hitch, and there is a bolt, a bolt that came with this, and the purpose of this bolt right here is to tighten this down so you don't get a rattle when you're going down the road. So this is all completed. I took my time. I think this is probably about an 1.5 to 2 hour operation, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I need to install a harness with my wiring, and my harness hasn't come in yet, but that will be installed right here, and I'll tap into the connectors there and then wire it directly with the battery. But I'll put that into a separate video. All right, if you enjoyed this video, please like or follow, and I'll have more of these as I work on this beautiful, wonderful bike. Thank you.